The note weighed nothing, just a small cream-colored envelope, but when I found it in my tuxedo pocket, it felt heavier than an engine block. My daughter's handwriting, shaky and rushed, 3 words that stopped my world. Dad, help me. The wedding was a lie. The perfect couple was a cage. And I, Robert, a man who fixes cars, had just watched the monster drive away with my little girl. He thought I was just a grease-stained mechanic, too slow and too simple to fight back. He was about to learn that some engines are built for war. If this story finds you, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. It helps to know I'm not alone in this world. The ballroom glittered. It looked like the inside of a diamond. Chandeliers hung like frozen waterfalls, casting a warm light on the polished marble floor. The air was thick, white roses and expensive champagne. I tugged at the collar of my rented tuxedo. It felt stiff, like a chokehold. I didn't belong here. My name is Robert. I own an auto shop. My hands are usually covered in grease, not tucked into the pockets of a suit that cost more than my monthly mortgage. This was my daughter Sarah's world now, and it terrified me. I saw her across the room. Sarah, a vision in a dress that seemed woven from moonlight. She was breathtaking. Beside her was Ethan, her new husband. Ethan was the city's golden boy. He made a fortune in tech investments before he was 30. He was sharp, handsome, and had a charm that felt magnetic. When he smiled, people leaned in. They were drawn to him. They looked like a fairy tale. But I stopped believing in fairy tales. 5 years ago. They are the perfect couple, Robert. My sister Karen whispered next to me. She squeezed my arm too tightly. She's done so well. I nodded. I forced a smile. The smile felt fake on my face. Everyone said it. Perfect. Lucky. A fairy tale. Looking at them, they were convincing. Sarah was radiant, laughing at something Ethan whispered in her ear. He held her close, protective, proud. It looked perfect. But perfection is just a mask. A small, cold knot had tightened in my chest. As a mechanic, I know when an engine sounds wrong, even if it's running smoothly. There's a hum beneath the surface. A rattle you can't quite place. Ethan was that rattle. It wasn't jealousy. I wanted Sarah to have the world, especially after her mother, Linda, had passed away. It was just me and Sarah now. I wanted her safe, but something about Ethan felt too polished, too smooth, like a car with a flawless paint job, hiding a rusted frame. It was the small things, the way he'd slowly reorganized her life. She left her job at the graphic design firm, a job she loved. Ethan says I don't need the stress, Dad, she told me. Her voice too bright. She stopped seeing her old friends. Their lives were too different now. I tried to talk to her about it. She insisted it was her choice. She was happy, but her eyes told a different story. They looked tired, empty. He was isolating her, and I was letting it happen. The music shifted. The lights dimmed. It was time for the father-daughter dance. I walked onto the floor. The crowd parted. Sarah met me in the center. Up close, I could see the faint shadows under her eyes, expertly hidden by makeup. But I knew my daughter's face. Hi, Dad, she said. Her smile was dazzling. But it didn't reach her eyes. You look beautiful, sweetheart. My throat felt tight, but we started to move to the music. It was the song Linda used to sing to her when she was a baby. A lullaby. I held her close, trying to memorize the moment, the feel of her hand on my shoulder. But she felt different, tense, like a wire pulled too tight. Her hand was ice cold. Are you okay, Sarah? I whispered. I'm wonderful, Dad. Really, it's just a lot. She avoided my eyes. That wasn't like her something was terribly wrong. We turned, a slow, elegant spin. The room blurred around us. As we came back together, she leaned her head against my chest. Just for a second. It was a fleeting moment. Intimate. Familiar. But her breathing was shallow. Fast. Like she was running a race. Then I felt it. A slight pressure against my tuxedo jacket. A quick, subtle movement near my hip pocket. Her fingers fumbled against the fabric. A small rustle of paper. Her hand moved away instantly. Too fast. I frowned. Had she stumbled, or was it something else? She pulled back. Her smile, fixed again. Bright and blinding. But her eyes, I'll never forget her eyes. They held a desperation I hadn't seen since the day Linda died. A raw panic. A silent scream. The dance finished. The applause was loud. It felt far away. I felt sick. My heart hammered against my ribs. What had she done? Ethan was there instantly, sliding his arm around her waist. Possessive, he kissed her cheek. A brand of ownership. She's a treasure, Robert, Ethan said, his voice smooth as silk. Take care of her, I replied. I held his gaze. My voice was low, a warning. Always. His eyes were cold. Dead. The word hung in the air. A promise, or a threat. I walked off the floor. The knot in my chest was pulling tighter, and I needed air. The scent of roses was choking me. I excused myself, headed toward the restrooms. Away from the noise, away from the lie. I needed a moment to think, to breathe, to understand what just happened. The restroom was empty. All black marble and gold fixtures. It felt cold, like a tomb. I leaned against the counter, splashed cold water on my face. I looked at the man in the mirror. He looked old, tired, scared. I adjusted my jacket. My fingers brushed against something in my pocket, something that wasn't there before the dance. I pulled it out, a small, cream-colored envelope, the kind they used for the place settings. My name, Robert, written in Sarah's familiar handwriting. But the letters were shaky, rushed. My heart started to pound, a frantic drum against my ribs. I tore it open. Inside was a folded piece of paper. The message was short, written in frantic ink. Dad, help me. I froze. The world stopped. The distant music faded. The air became thick and cold. I read the words again and again. Dad, help me. This wasn't wedding day jitters. This wasn't cold feet. This was terror. The perfect couple, the fairy tale wedding. It was all a lie, a glittering cage. I stared at my reflection. I was just a mechanic. What could I do against a man like Ethan? He owned this city. But I was her father, and I would burn this city down to save her. I had to move. I had to act. But first I had to pretend everything was fine. I had to get back out there. I had to look normal. I folded the note. My hands were shaking now. I put it back in my pocket. I walked back into the ballroom. The party was in full swing. Laughter echoed. It sounded fake, cruel. I scanned the room. There they were, near the towering wedding cake. Ethan was talking animatedly to a group of important-looking people. Sarah stood beside him, silent, a beautiful accessory. Now, knowing the truth, the picture changed. The way he kept his hand on the small of her back wasn't affectionate. It was possessive, a grip. The way she looked at him wasn't adoration. It was vigilance. She was watching him like a mouse watches a snake. I started walking toward them. I needed to talk to her. I needed to get her out of there. Before I was halfway across the room, Ethan detached himself from the group and met me. It was as if he had radar. Like he sensed the danger I posed. Robert having a good time. His smile was blinding, a weapon. I need to talk to Sarah. Alone, I said. My voice was low and rough. Ethan's smile didn't falter, but his eyes hardened. I'm afraid she's exhausted, Robert. It's been a long day. He was lying. I could smell the deception on him, like burning oil. It's important, Ethan. I stood my ground. Anything important can wait until we return, he said. His tone was final. Dismissive. We're actually about to leave for the airport. The honeymoon, you know, a month in the Maldives. He paused, leaned in slightly. Total isolation. Just the two of us. A month. Isolation. No contact. My blood ran cold. He wasn't taking her on a vacation. He was taking her hostage. He glanced over my shoulder. Ah, the mayor is here. I must say hello. Enjoy the rest of the evening, Robert. He turned and walked away, dismissing me as if I were the help. I stood there, useless. I watched him glide back to his world, pulling Sarah with him. She glanced back at me once, a fleeting look of desperation, a silent scream. Then Ethan guided her toward the exit. The perfect couple was gone, and I was left standing in a glittering ballroom, holding a cry for help. realizing that the dragon had just left with my daughter. The music swelled. People cheered. I felt like I was drowning in the noise. I had to move. I had to do something, but what? The drive home was a blur. The silence in my small house was deafening. I sat in the old armchair in the living room, the one Linda used to love. I looked at her picture on the mantel, her smiling face, her kind eyes. "What do I do, Linda?" I whispered. My voice cracked. I was a man of action. I fixed things. I could rebuild an engine from scratch. But this wasn't a broken engine. This was my daughter's life, and I didn't have the tools to fix this. Not yet, anyway. The next morning I woke up before the sun. I hadn't slept. I grabbed my phone. I tried calling Sarah. The phone rang twice. Then went to a recorded message. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." Panic seized my chest, a cold fist squeezing my heart. Disconnected. Already. They were supposed to be in the Maldives. I called the airline. I gave them the flight information Sarah had shared weeks ago. "Yes, Mr. Robert," the agent said cheerfully. "We did have a reservation for Ethan and Sarah, but the tickets were canceled last night." Canceled. He hadn't taken her on a honeymoon. He had hidden her. I couldn't go to the police. What would I tell them? My daughter gave me a note that her rich, powerful husband canceled their honeymoon. Ethan was powerful. He donated to the right charities. Knew the right people. The mayor was at his wedding. I was just a mechanic with grease under his fingernail. They would laugh me out of the station. They might even warn Ethan. I needed someone who wouldn't be blinded by Ethan's money. I needed someone who lived in the shadows. I needed David. David and I grew up together. He'd spent 20 years as a detective before burning out and becoming a private investigator. He specialized in finding things people wanted to keep hidden. I met him at a greasy diner downtown. The smell of stale coffee and burnt bacon hung in the air. David was a large man with tired eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in years. I slid the note across the table. The small, crumpled piece of paper felt heavy with meaning. He read it, then looked at me, his tired eyes suddenly sharp. "This was at the wedding? While we were dancing," I said. My voice was hoarse. "No, her phone is disconnected. They canceled their flight. I don't know where they are." If you're listening to this, if you've ever felt helpless, subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're watching from. It helps to know I'm not alone in this fight. David sighed. He rubbed his temples. "Ethan, the tech wonder boy. I've heard rumors about him." "What kind of rumors?" I leaned forward, desperate for any information. His rise was too fast, Robert. Companies don't grow that quickly without cutting corners, without stepping on people. He looked me straight in the eye. "But his financials are squeaky clean. Too clean. Like a brand new engine that's never been driven. It's suspicious. Can you find them?" "I can try. But guys like Ethan pay a lot of money for privacy. This won't be easy. And it won't be cheap. I don't care about the cost. Find my daughter. I would sell my shop, my house, everything." David nodded slowly. "Okay, Robert. I'm on it." The next few days were agony. I worked at the shop, trying to keep my hands busy. But my mind was with Sarah. Was she safe? Was she scared? I jumped every time the phone rang, every time a car door slammed outside. I was tuning up a '67 Mustang when David called. 3 days later, I found them, David's gravelly voice said. They didn't go on a honeymoon. They moved into a penthouse apartment downtown. The Omni Tower. The Omni Tower. The most expensive building in the city. High security, David continued. Fort Knox level. Private elevators. Keycard access on every floor. And he has a personal security team. Ex-military. Relief washed over me. She was alive, quickly followed by anger. He was keeping her there. A prisoner in a golden cage. I'm going there, I said. I wiped the grease from my hands. My mind was already made up. Robert, wait. It's not that simple. You can't just walk in. You'll spook him. I don't care. I need to see her. I hung up before David could argue. I grabbed my jacket. I drove downtown. The Omni Tower was a tower of glass and steel that pierced the sky. It looked cold, impenetrable. I walked into the lobby. It felt more like a bank vault than a place where people lived. Marble floors, modern art, silent. A man in a sharp black suit approached me immediately. He was large, square jaw, cold eyes. He looked exactly like David described. "Can I help you, sir?" His voice was polite, but it held a warning. "I'm here to see my daughter, Sarah. Ethan's apartment," I said. I tried to sound confident, but my voice trembled slightly. "Do you have an appointment?" "I'm her father." "I understand that, sir. But without an appointment, I cannot let you up." He didn't sound sorry. It was a wall, a very large, very intimidating wall. "Call up there. Tell them Robert is here," I insisted. My patience was wearing thin. The guard didn't move immediately. He just stared at me, assessing the threat. Then slowly, deliberately, he spoke into his wrist microphone. Quietly. The silence stretched. I held my breath. He listened to the reply in his earpiece. His expression didn't change. "I'm sorry, sir. They are not available. Not available. They were there. He just wouldn't let me see her. I just want to see my daughter." My voice rose, echoing in the sterile lobby. The desperation clawed at my throat. The man stepped closer, invading my personal space. "I have to ask you to leave, sir, or I will have you removed." His eyes promised violence. I felt helpless, furious. I wanted to push past him, to fight my way upstairs. But I knew it would only make things worse for Sarah. I had to be smart. I backed down. I couldn't help Sarah if I was in jail. I walked out, defeated. The glass doors hissed shut behind me. I stood on the sidewalk, staring up at the tower. Sarah was up there, so close, and yet completely out of reach. Ethan had me blocked at every turn. He was smart. He had anticipated my moves. He knew I would come for her, and he was ready. I reported back to David. We met at the diner again. "He's got her locked up tight, David. What do we do?" I felt despair creeping in. David was silent for a moment. He stirred his coffee. "We need to dig deeper into Ethan. We need to find leverage. We need to know what Sarah needs help with. If he's just controlling, that's one thing. If he's dangerous, that's another." "He's dangerous," I said. I felt it at the wedding. I saw it in his eyes. A week passed. A week of sleepless nights and agonizing days. David worked tirelessly, using his contacts, digging through databases. I kept driving by the penthouse building, hoping to catch a glimpse of Sarah, a light in the window, a shadow on the balcony. I never did. Then one afternoon, I received a surprise visit. Ethan, he stood in my workshop, looking impeccable in a tailored suit, completely out of place amidst the grease and tools. He looked around with a faint sneer, like he was slumming it. "Robert, I heard you've been trying to reach Sarah," he said. His voice was calm, controlled, too controlled. "Where is she, Ethan?" I wiped my hands on a rag. My knuckles were white. "She's resting." The wedding was overwhelming. She needed a break. He smiled. That same blinding fake smile. From everything and everyone. The implication hung in the air. A break from me. I want to see her. My voice was tight.
"I don't think that's a good idea right now."
He pulled out an envelope from his jacket pocket. Thick, white. He walked slowly towards my workbench. He placed the envelope down carefully. "I know things have been tight since Linda passed. The shop isn't doing as well as it used to. I want to help." I looked down at it. A check. A large check. Enough to pay off my mortgage. To retire. To live comfortably for the rest of my life. It was a bribe. A payoff. Silence money. A life-changing amount of money laid on my workbench, promising comfort and security. If I took it, I was accepting his terms, becoming complicit in Sarah's silence, selling my daughter. If I refused, I was declaring war on a man who held all the power. The fear was paralyzing, but the rage was stronger. I looked at the check. Then I looked at Ethan. His eyes were confident, arrogant. He thought he could buy me. He thought I had a price. "I don't want your money, Ethan," I said. I pushed the envelope back across the workbench. It left a clean streak in the dust. "I want my daughter." Ethan's smile tightened. The mask slipped for a moment. I saw the monster underneath. "You're making a mistake, Robert. Don't be foolish." He left. He didn't pick up the check. It sat there on the workbench, a silent testament to his arrogance. The threat hung in the air long after he was gone. I knew then that this was war. The next day, things escalated. Ethan wasn't just playing defense anymore. He was on the offensive. The squeeze began. My bank called. Mr. Harrison, the manager. His voice was nervous. "Mr. Robert, we're seeing some suspicious activity on your account. We have to freeze your assets temporarily." Froze my assets. I couldn't access my money. I couldn't pay my bills. I tried using my credit cards at the grocery store. Declined all of them. I went to the shop. A notice was posted on the door. Condemned code violations. Violations that didn't exist yesterday. He was cutting off my resources, strangling my life, trying to starve me out. But that wasn't the worst part. A black sedan was parked down the street from my house. Day and night. They didn't try to hide. They wanted me to know I was being watched. Ethan wasn't just hiding Sarah. He was actively dismantling my life. He was tracking my movements, trying to break my spirit. I felt utterly helpless, trapped in a net I couldn't even see. The fear wasn't just for Sarah anymore. It was for my own survival. He was trying to crush me, like a bug under his expensive Italian shoes. I called David. My voice was shaking. "He's squeezing me, David. He froze my accounts. He shut down my shop. He has people watching my house." David swore under his breath. "He's escalating. He knows you're not going away. We need leverage, Robert. We need to find a weakness. Fast. We needed inside information. Someone close to Ethan. Someone who knew his secrets." David identified Mark, Ethan's business partner, the chief financial officer. He was always there, quiet, efficient, in the background. David had noticed him at the wedding. "He looked uncomfortable, Robert," David said. "Like he was attending a funeral, not a wedding. He might be the key." It was a huge risk. If Mark was loyal to Ethan, we were finished. Ethan would know we were investigating him. He would tighten his grip on Sarah, or worse, but we had no other choice. I was desperate. David found out where Mark usually had lunch, a small Italian restaurant near his office. I waited outside, my heart pounding in my chest. Every minute felt like an hour. When Mark came out, I approached him. He was shorter than Ethan. Thin, nervous energy radiated off him. "Mark, my name is Robert. Sarah's father." Mark froze. He looked terrified. His eyes darted around, looking for cameras, looking for watchers. "I can't talk to you, sir," he whispered. He started to walk away. "Please," I begged. I grabbed his arm. "My daughter is in trouble. I know she is. If you know anything, please help me. Help her." Mark looked at me. He saw the desperation in my eyes, the fear. He hesitated. "Not here," he whispered. His voice was trembling. "The park. 10 minutes. The bench near the fountain." He walked away quickly. He didn't look back. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Hope, a small flicker in the darkness. I found him sitting on the bench. His face was pale. He was biting his nails. A nervous habit. "I have to be quick," Mark whispered. He looked around nervously. "He tracks my movements. He tracks everyone. He has cameras everywhere, listening devices." "Where is she?" I asked. "Straight to the point. She's at the penthouse. He never lets her leave. He tells her it's for her own safety, but she's a prisoner." My blood ran cold. I knew it, but hearing it confirmed was a punch to the gut. Then came the twist that changed everything. Mark leaned closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. He looked sick to his stomach. "It's worse than you think, Robert. He's not just controlling her. He's framing her." I didn't understand. The words hung in the air. Cold, heavy. My mind raced. What did he mean? Mark revealed the horrifying truth. Ethan's fortune wasn't built on tech investments. It was a lie. A massive Ponzi scheme. He was stealing millions from investors, high-profile investors, dangerous people, and he had set up Sarah to take the fall. He married her to look legitimate, Mark explained. His words rushed out, a torrent of guilt and fear. He needed a wife, a perfect story, a distraction. But now the scheme is collapsing, Mark continued. The feds are closing in. They've been investigating him for months. He knows it's over, so he's planning to disappear. I realized. The Maldives, the isolation, it all made sense now. Yes, and leave Sarah holding the bag. Ethan had manipulated the business documents, making Sarah the sole signatory on the fraudulent accounts. He had forged her signature on dozens of incriminating papers. He had created a paper trail that led straight to her. My daughter wasn't just trapped. She was facing life in prison for crimes she didn't commit. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Ethan's cruelty went far beyond control. He was willing to destroy her life to save his own. A cold, paralyzing terror filled me. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Horrified, suspicious. "Because I'm trapped too," Mark confessed. Tears welled up in his eyes. "He has dirt on me. Things I did when I was younger. Foolish things. He's blackmailing me." He looked at me, his face etched with guilt. "And I can't let him do this to Sarah. She's innocent. She's kind. She didn't deserve this." Mark was risking everything to help me, putting himself in immense danger. If I failed, his life would be ruined too. The weight of this responsibility was crushing. Mark gave me a USB drive. Small, black. It felt heavy in my hand. "It has copies of the real documents," he whispered. "The ones that prove Ethan's guilt and Sarah's innocence. The original documents. The forged signatures. The money transfers. It's all there. It's encrypted," he continued. "He's paranoid. The password is Sarah's childhood nickname." I knew it instantly. A memory flashed in my mind. Sarah, 5 years old, running around the backyard with a lightning bolt drawn on her cheek. "Sparky," Mark nodded. Relief washed over his face. "Be careful, Robert. He's desperate. And desperate men do dangerous things." He stood up and walked away, leaving me alone on the bench, holding the key to my daughter's freedom and Ethan's destruction. I now had the proof, the leverage we needed. I couldn't trust the local police. Ethan owned them. I had to go higher. I had to go straight to the top. I went straight to the FBI. I walked into the federal building downtown. The security was tight. Metal detectors. Armed guards. I felt small, intimidated. But the USB drive in my pocket gave me courage. I met with Agent Miller, a stern-looking woman with sharp eyes. She looked like she didn't play games. I laid out everything. The note, the isolation, the Ponzi scheme, the framing of Sarah. I showed her the documents on the USB drive. I used the password, Sparky. The files opened, a maze of numbers and legal jargon. But the truth was there, clear as day. Agent Miller listened patiently. She didn't interrupt. She just watched me, her expression unreadable. Then she leaned forward. She tapped her pen on the desk. A rhythmic sound in the silent office. "Mr. Robert," she said slowly. Her voice was calm, measured. "This is serious. We've been investigating Ethan for months. We knew something was wrong, but his financials were impenetrable. We couldn't get close." She looked at the USB drive. This changes everything. This is the evidence we needed." Relief washed over me. A tidal wave of emotion. Finally, someone believed me. Someone who could actually help. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe. It helps our channel grow and bring more stories to light. It was that moment I knew we had a chance. "We need to get Sarah out of there," I said. My voice was urgent before Ethan disappears. "Mark said he's planning to run. We're planning a raid," Agent Miller said. She stood up and walked to a whiteboard covered with photos of Ethan. His associates. His properties. But we need to be careful. Ethan is smart, and he's dangerous. If he suspects anything, he might panic. He might hurt Sarah. We needed a plan, a way to ensure Sarah's safety during the raid. We needed a distraction. Agent Miller suggested I call Ethan, pretending to be desperate, broken, to beg him to let me see Sarah one last time before I leave town. It was a risky move, A huge gamble. If Ethan sensed my deception, he might accelerate his escape plan. He might take Sarah and run. Or worse, I had to give the performance of my life, convincing a monster that he had won, that he had broken me. We moved to a secure room. The FBI set up recording equipment. They wanted to capture every word, every nuance. I made the call. My hands were shaking, my voice trembling. I wasn't acting anymore. I was genuinely terrified. The phone rang, once, twice, 3 times. Then Ethan answered. "Robert, I was wondering when you would call." His voice was smug, arrogant. I begged. I pleaded. I groveled. I told him he was right, that I was a foolish old man, that I just wanted to see my daughter one last time. "I'm leaving town, Ethan," I choked out. "The shop is gone. I have nothing left. I can't fight you anymore." "You win." The words tasted like ash in my mouth. Ethan listened. His silence was more terrifying than any threat. I could hear the ice clinking in his glass. He was enjoying this, enjoying my pain. Finally, he spoke. "Tonight, 8 p.m. You have 1 hour. And Robert," he paused, a dramatic flare, "don't try anything foolish." He hung up. The trap was set. The night arrived. The city lights blurred through the rain-streaked windows of the FBI surveillance van. I felt a strange calm settle over me. The hesitant, worried father was gone. In his place was a man driven by a primal need to protect his child. I was wired, a small microphone taped to my chest, a tracking device in my shoe. Agent Miller gave me a final briefing. "Remember, Robert, get Sarah away from Ethan if you can. We'll be listening. At the first sign of trouble, we move in. Or when you give the signal." The signal phrase, "The engine is blown." I nodded, my jaw set. I arrived at the penthouse at 8 p.m. sharp. The security guard from the lobby, the large man with the cold eyes, he escorted me up. He didn't say a word. The silence in the elevator was deafening. The elevator doors opened directly into the penthouse. It was vast, cold, sterile. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. It felt like a museum, not a home. Ethan was sitting in a leather armchair, drinking brandy, a smirk on his face. Sarah was standing by the window, looking out at the city lights. She turned when she heard the elevator. She looked pale, exhausted, thin. "Dad?" she whispered, her voice trembling. I rushed to her, ignoring Ethan. I pulled her into a tight hug. She felt fragile in my arms, like she might break. "It's okay, Sparky, I'm here," I whispered into her hair. The childhood nickname, a lifeline, a promise. Ethan watched us, a cruel smile playing on his lips. He stood up and walked towards us. "Touching reunion," he sneered. "Enjoy it. It's the last time you'll see each other." "What do you mean?" I asked. Playing dumb, my heart was pounding against the microphone taped to my chest. "I mean, Robert, that your daughter is about to face a very long prison sentence." He chuckled. A cold, harsh sentence. "The evidence against her is overwhelming." He looked at me, his eyes blazing with triumph. "And you? Well, you're a disgraced father who couldn't even save his own child. A failure. You won't get away with this, Ethan," I said, my voice hardening. I stepped between him and Sarah. "A shield I already have," he replied. He walked towards a side table, where a small black bag sat. "His escape bag. The plane is waiting. By the time the feds figure it out, I'll be gone, and Sarah will take the fall." He was confessing. Arrogant. He thought he was untouchable. "You made a mistake, Ethan," I said, my voice calm and steady. "You underestimated a father's love." He paused, his hand hovering over the bag. He looked at me, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. "What did you do?" he demanded. His voice suddenly sharp. He looked around the room, realizing something was wrong. I looked at Sarah. I needed her to be ready. I gave her a small nod. She nodded back, her eyes wide with fear, but also determination. The spark was back. "I told them everything, Ethan," I said. "The Ponzi scheme, the forged documents, the framing of Sarah." Ethan roared in frustration. "You fool. You think they believe you? A washed-up Putenic?" "They didn't believe me," I said. They believe the evidence. This whole time, Ethan, I said, stepping closer to him, you thought you were the engine, running everything. But you're wrong. I jabbed a finger at his chest. The engine is blown. The signal. Suddenly the lights went out. The apartment plunged into darkness. The only light came from the city below. Ethan swore violently. He fumbled in the darkness, looking for a weapon. Dad, Sarah screamed. I grabbed her hand. Stay close to me. I grabbed her hand. Stay close to me. I pulled her towards the kitchen, away from the windows, away from Ethan. The apartment door burst open. A crash echoed in the darkness. Flashlight beams cut through the shadows. Blinding, disorienting, baby eye, hands in the air. Agent Miller's voice boomed through the apartment. Chaos erupted. Ethan lunged for his bag. He wasn't going down without a fight. I reacted on instinct. I tackled him, sending us crashing to the floor. The brandy glass shattered. The smell of alcohol filled the air. We struggled in the darkness. He was strong, desperate. He fought like a cornered animal. He punched me in the face. A sharp pain exploded in my jaw. Splitting my lip, I tasted blood. But I held on. I wasn't letting him go. Not this time. I slammed my fist into his stomach. Winding him, he gasped for air. A strangled sound. The lights flickered back on. Emergency lighting. Dim, eerie. Ethan was on the floor, gasping for breath. FBI agents surrounded him, guns drawn, handcuffs clicking shut around his wrists. Agent Miller walked into the room. She looked at Ethan with disgust. It's over, Ethan. Ethan looked at me, his face twisted in rage, his eyes blazing with hatred. The mask was gone. The monster was exposed. You ruined everything, he screamed, spittle flying from his mouth. You ruined yourself, I replied. Wiping the blood from my lip, I turned to Sarah. She was shaking, sobbing, but safe. I pulled her into my arms, holding her tight. It's okay, sweetheart. It's over. He can't hurt you anymore. The nightmare was finally over. The aftermath was messy. The story exploded in the media. The tech wonder boy fraud. The Ponzi scheme prince. Ethan's empire crumbled. A house of cards built on lies and deception. He was arrested, along with his accomplices, the ones who helped him build his fraudulent empire. Mark testified against him, providing crucial evidence. He was given immunity for his cooperation. He was free. He saved Sarah. He saved himself. The legal battles were long and grueling. The lawyers tried to twist the narrative, to paint Sarah as a willing participant, a gold digger, but the truth was stronger. The evidence was overwhelming. Sarah had to testify. It was painful, reliving the nightmare, the manipulation, the betrayal, but she stood strong. She faced Ethan in the courtroom, her voice clear and steady. He told me he loved me, she said, her eyes fixed on the jury. But he didn't love me. He used me. He tried to destroy me. Ethan watched her, his face impassive, cold, but I saw the flicker of defeat in his eyes. Ethan was found guilty on all charges: fraud, embezzlement, false imprisonment. He was sentenced to life in prison. The gavel came down with a satisfying thud. Justice. Finally, the day the trial ended, Sarah and I went back to my workshop. I managed to get it reopened. The code violations miraculously disappeared. The familiar smell of grease and oil was comforting, a return to reality, a world where things made sense. The air was quiet, the only sound the ticking of the old clock on the wall. We sat in silence for a long time, the weight of the past year finally settling around us. Sarah looked at me, her eyes clear. The shadows were gone, but the sadness remained. Scars that would take time to heal. Tears started to stream down her face, silent and heavy. I'm so sorry, Dad, she whispered, her voice breaking. For what, sweetheart? I reached out, covering her hand with mine, my grease-stained hand holding her delicate one. For being so blind. For believing the fairy tale, she sobbed. The sound raw and painful. I thought I wanted that life. The money, the glamour. I thought it meant happiness. She looked around the workshop, the tools, the car parts, the smell of hard work. I pushed you away because I didn't want you to see how wrong I was, how lost I was. It was an illusion, Sparky, I said, my own throat tight with emotion. A shiny paint job hiding a rusted frame. Real value isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in love, in loyalty, in the things that last. She leaned her head on my shoulder, just like she used to when she was a little girl, crying out the pain and the betrayal. I held her close, the tears finally falling from my own eyes. Tears of relief, of sadness, of gratitude. You saved me, Dad, she whispered. You risked everything for me. When everyone else saw the perfect couple, you saw the truth. Always, I replied, my voice thick. Always. I looked at my daughter, my survivor, my hero. She was stronger now, forged in fire, and I realized that true wealth wasn't measured in the size of your bank account, but in the strength of the bonds that hold us together, the courage to protect the ones we love, and the resilience of the human heart. I was just a mechanic. I fixed broken things, and this time I had fixed the most important thing of all. My daughter's life. The fairy tale was over, but our reality, though scarred, was finally truly perfect. Thanks for listening. Please rate our story in the comments. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means a lot, because your time matters.